political dis. In a recent interview with Clayton Morris on Redacted, U.S. Border Patrol agent turned filmmaker J.J. Carroll discussed his new documentary and the fact that prison facilities are being built in all 50 states to hold millions of political dissidents.
And there's detention facility bids to build individual detention facilities in every state in the union. And then she goes on to say to me, well, JJ, who do you think they're built for? And she says in this interview, they're for dissidents, American dissidents.
The FEMA camps were reported decades ago. This was never an outrageous conspiracy theory. The U.S. government has been framing American patriots as the enemy for decades, and the reason should be obvious. Those who have been in control of the U.S. government for generations have no interest in serving the people in accordance to the Constitution or otherwise. Our country is being destroyed from within, and the rule of law has been weaponized against those who defend it. Hundreds of innocent Americans have been arrested and thrown in jail because they chose to peacefully protest the 2020 stolen election. And others, such as Jeremy Brown, a Green Beret who was approached in late 2020 by federal agents trying to recruit him for the Jan 6 false flag operation, was arrested after going public with this information by the same federal agents. He was put in maximum security prison, where he remains to this day, his 1,000th day in federal prison. Hundreds of innocent Americans have been in jail for years, and several have been tortured. Much of America is okay with the fact that hundreds are rotting in jail for a peaceful protest. It's already become the norm. While it's definitely worth celebrating the release of Julian Assange, the American people have never been more divided. The Daily Mail reports that more than 40% of Americans think a new civil war will be fought within the next decade. According to one poll, more than 4 in 10 U.S. voters say the country is likely to get ripped apart in a second civil war within 5 years. And another shows that over 100 million Americans say that civil war is coming. Based on the recommendation of think tank Policy Horizons, Canada has been preparing for an American civil war, including cyber attacks and grid failures following the 2024 presidential election. The soldiers of the New World Order are not going to die easy. They are apparently willing to spark a nuclear conflict with Russia and are already writing new laws to bring back the draft.
So women have never been required to register for the draft, but that could soon change thanks to lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
Martha, good morning. The Senate version of the National Defense Authorization Act, which sets out military and national security priorities, would require women to register for selective service. It concludes, quote, "This is a necessary and fair step, making it possible to draw on the talent of a unified nation in a time of national emergency." Now, there are two different versions of this bill, one in the House, one in the Senate, so it's possible women in the draft could get dropped as lawmakers iron out the differences.
So while women may get dropped from this bill, our government is bringing back the draft while provoking a major war with Russia. They have their bunkers, and they've already jailed hundreds for protesting an election. So they'll definitely jail draft dodgers and everyone else who stands in their way, unless we unite against them.
Now, that treason documentary that was produced by J.J. Carroll, it released on October 10th of 2024, which is 10/10. Now, in numerology, if you add that up, 10 plus 10 plus 24 equals 44. Now, why does this matter? Well, the secret elite, they have a secret language of symbols and numbers. It's a way they can speak to each other without the uninitiated knowing what they're saying. And 44 in the Sepentry cipher, which is based on 1 through 7. It's the best cipher for decoding anything biblical. And that's what this is tied to. Biblical prophecy, the rounding up of Christians, FEMA camps, decapitations. FEMA death camp equals 44. Matching banking collapse, banking elite, and brainwashing. And that's their plan, to collapse the physical currency, to force us into a digital currency. And all you guys got to do is watch what these major players on the world stage are doing right now. They're selling all their stocks, like Warren Buffett. He usually holds on to all of his stocks. Why is he selling everything right now? Are they preparing for some global collapse? Check this out.
Warren Buffett, on behalf of Berkshire Hathaway, has been selling some stock, a lot of stock.
Warren Buffett has been selling not only his largest stock position, but his second largest, too.
In the last few weeks, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has been dumping billions of dollars worth of Bank of America stock.
In total, he sold about $10.5 billion worth of the stock, amounting to 26% of Berkshire's stake in the company.
Some of the banks that you've sold include USB, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, PNC.
I did sell banks that we'd owned for 25 or 30 years.
Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway now holds over $325 billion in cash after selling off billions in Apple and Bank of America.
They've now got more cash than ever.
Time we saw something similar to this was a few years before the great financial crisis. In fact, he didn't even hold this much cash before the dot-com bubble in 2000. But just remember that this is compared to his US equities. If you compare it to his total portfolio, the cash position is more like 25%.
Mind at all under current conditions, building the cash position. I think when I look at the alternative of what's available in the equity markets, we find it quite attractive.
Now, mark my words, these big players like Warren Buffett, their next move will be taking all that cash that they accumulated from selling the stocks and flipping it into physical gold and silver, because the stock market is going to collapse the worst we've ever seen it. And it's all to force us into a digital currency. They have many different ways they're going to force us into this. And I think certain countries have already done it, like Brazil. Why did Brazil shut down X for so long? There was a complete media blackout there. And several months before X got shut down, I was warning people. I said, something's coming in Brazil, because I use VPNs all the time, and I screenshotted this. When I was on the VPN in Brazil, on my Rumble, it would not let me get on my Rumble. It said that their country was trying to remove their users from that platform, and it was a complete media blackout. Now, we know even them platforms are controlled, but they're about the freest when it comes to freedom of speech. And if you're scared of something going viral, like the locals down in Brazil burning down banks, that was the rumor anyway, because they couldn't get to their physical currency, and the money, tapped down there still hasn't been turned on in places like that in Venezuela. That's the rumor anyway. If you didn't want that getting out, you would shut them two social media sites down, because they have back doors into YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. They control these. I mean, let's face it. Facebook is really LifeLog. It's DARPA's LifeLog. And Google is owned by Alphabet, which is owned by DARPA, BlackRock, so they can get into all of them. America, we're next, guys. That's why these FEMA camps are going up everywhere. So people better get ready. If you think it's a joke, I promise you it's not. For more information, make sure you check out our website, truthmafia.com, and don't forget to check out my personal website, truthfultv.com.
In this digital age where the truth gets thinner, are you a player or just background filler? Walking through life like your soul preset, controlled by a force we ain't even met. D-waves quantum leap in the shadows, it creeps. Are we free or tethered in digital dream? Puppet strings pulled by an unseen hand, a super AI across the land. Are you an NPC or do you hold the key? In the simulation we call life, or will you be controlled by the AI or breaking free? Discover your truth on truthfultv.com and see every step you take, every move you make. Are you awake or just part of the fake? Energy siphon discerns deep labs, or are you the hero?
In a recent interview